Okay, so we're about to dive into a story you think you know, David and Goliath. But here's the thing, this isn't just some simple underdog story. It's a masterclass, really, in how what looks like a weakness can actually be your most powerful, unbeatable advantage. Let's get right into it.
But before we even meet the giant, let's actually start with you. Just take a second and think about it. What is the biggest, most intimidating challenge you've ever had to face? You know that feeling, right? That feeling of being completely and totally outmatched. Just hold on to that thought, because we all have a Goliath.
All right, so let's set the scene. You've got two armies, and they're locked in this tense standoff, but nobody's fighting. Why? Well, it's because one side has a secret weapon. A weapon so terrifying it has brought an entire army to a dead stop, just frozen in fear. I mean, just look at this contrast. On one side, you have an entire army, thousands of soldiers, completely paralyzed. And on the other, you have one single man, Goliath, who has become this living symbol of terror. He's not just another soldier, he's psychological warfare in human form.
And you just gotta listen to his taunt. This is pure psychological dominance. Goliath is so confident, so unbelievably sure of himself, that he's willing to bet the fate of his entire nation on one single fight. I mean, the stakes just couldn't be any higher.
So you've got an army of trained professional soldiers, and they're all too scared to even move. So who steps up? Well, this is where the story takes this just brilliant turn. The answer comes from the last place anyone would ever think to look.
The situation is screaming for their biggest, baddest, most decorated warrior. But instead, they get David, a young shepherd who isn't even technically a soldier. He was literally just there to drop off lunch for his older brothers. But here's where we have to completely reframe what the word shepherd means here. We hear shepherd and we think meek, mild, maybe a little weak, but that's not it at all. In this world, a shepherd is a projectile warrior. His whole life has been about one thing, protecting his flock from predators like lions and bears, and doing it from a distance. He is a long-range specialist, an expert marksman who depends on speed, agility, and absolute precision, not brute strength.
And this really brings us to the absolute heart of the conflict, because this was never just a physical fight between a giant and a kid. No, it was a battle between two completely different ways of thinking, two totally opposing beliefs about where real power actually comes from.
Now this is the critical moment. The king offers David his own royal armor. We're talking the best protection money can buy, designed for close-up hand-to-hand combat. But David says no. He turns it down. He knew, instinctively, that trying to fight Goliath on Goliath's terms, heavy armor, sword fight, was a guaranteed loss. He's not there to be infantry. He's there to be artillery.
So this really breaks down the two choices on the table. You've got Goliath's strength, which is all about being a heavy infantryman. It's conventional, it's powerful up close, but it's also really slow and cumbersome. And then you have David's strength, which is totally unconventional and wildly underestimated. His faith, his agility, and his complete mastery of a ranged weapon that everybody else on that battlefield just saw as a toy.
And here is his big declaration. This is the source of his courage. See, he's not looking at the size of the giant standing in front of him. He's focused on the size of his faith within him. He is seeing this battle through a completely different lens than anybody else.
So, the stage is set. You've got the taunting giant, decked out in his heavy armor, and then you have the young shepherd with nothing but a staff, a simple sling, and 5 smooth stones. The entire fate of a nation is hanging on this one unbelievable showdown.
And it's all over in an instant. But notice the action here. David doesn't hesitate, he doesn't back up, he runs towards the threat, closing the distance to get into his perfect range. He reaches for his trusted tool, the one he has spent years mastering, and with one single, precise shot, the battle is won. The impossible obstacle is taken down, not with overwhelming force, but with focused, underestimated skill.
So when Goliath fell, it sent shockwaves. This wasn't just a military victory. It was this profound lesson that has echoed down through the centuries. So what's the real message here, for us, right here and right now?
You know, when it comes down to it, the reason we still tell this story is because it completely flips our definition of power on its head. Victory didn't come from physical size or conventional weapons. It came from the courage to say no to a losing strategy and to trust in your own, unique strengths.
And this brings us right back to that question I asked you at the very beginning.
Our Goliaths today, well, they might not be 9-foot giants, but they feel just as big, don't they? They can be those overwhelming projects at work, that paralyzing fear of public speaking, a massive career change, or even just that quiet internal voice of doubt that tells you that you're just not good enough.
And that leaves us with one final question to think about. David won because he refused to play his opponent's game. Instead, he used the unique tool he had already mastered. So what about you? What is your underestimated strength? What's the stone you already possess ready and waiting to face whatever giant is standing in your way?